discussion and comment section on agenda items. Please refer to the comment procedures posted by the sign-in sheet. I'm going to read this one part. Issues concerning specific employees, either by name or by identifying reference, will not be tolerated. Any violation will result in the speaker being asked to sit down. So, right now, Mr. Collada is the only person signed up for non-agenda agenda items.
Good evening, everyone. Extra Help is a program that should be one of those factors that contributes to the success of the student and the educational program. The school board has seen fit correctly to support Extra Help. And tonight, the board will consider approving several resolutions to expand Extra Help after school and on Saturday mornings. My concern focuses on the effectiveness and the efficiency of Extra Help programs as they contribute to the success of our students and the educational programs. A few questions that I would like to share with you for your consideration regarding that effectiveness and efficiency would include, are the students in need attending the Extra Help classes? What is the rate of attendance for those needing this help? And what, if any, impediments to those not attending are we aware of and can we correct? Is Extra Help contributing to improving student proficiency? And what assessments are being used to measure such improvement? And then another one that kind of reaches outside of the Extra Help realm is, how does the classroom teacher and Extra Help teacher stay in touch to assess needs and to recognize achievement? And finally, overall, what is being learned to improve classroom instruction and curriculum? I'm asking the board these questions so that our Extra Help programs become more productive, more effective, and more efficient. And that possibly in the future, what we learn from these programs not only would help our curriculum, instruction, and our staff, but most importantly, help the students realize proficiency and raise proficiency levels for all students across all grade levels. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board on agenda items? Please come and state your name and your address.
Tech teacher at NFA North, and I'm here to speak about the resolution 3.2 to adopt the superintendent's goals. I'd like to ask that the board support this proposal because being a current tech education teacher, this district has given over 1,000 security guard certificates to students that have attended our program. Hundreds of them are working, and the opportunity to branch out into the emergency management area is there's 5 911 centers within an hour's drive of here. And they employ young people, 18 years of age, with GEDs as police, fire, and ambulance dispatchers. And that's a pathway to other law enforcement jobs. So with that in mind, I'm asking that the board would support the resolution of the superintendent's goals for 2016-2017 because it's important to the people that matter the most, and that's our students.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the board on agenda items? If not, we're going to move on to section 3.1, the resolution to adopt the 2016-2017 board goals. Before we have, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? I'd like to thank Mr. Johnston, Ms. Prokash, and Mr. Howard for helping put these together with me. I think we really did a great job, and I really think they're simple, easy to understand, and hopefully we will be able to accomplish these goals. Any other questions or discussion? So thank you, guys. Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Rokoff?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Tabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Resolution to adopt the 2016-2017 superintendent goals. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Rokoff?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Tabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Resolution to adopt board policies, 2105, school board access to information and reports, and 2106, school visits by board members on first reading. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Rokoff?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Tabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes. First reading of board policy 0100, non-discrimination and equal opportunity. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk. Oh, sorry. Resolution to authorize the board president to execute an employment agreement with the deputy superintendent. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll. Yes, Mr. Johnston.
I'm just curious why a 5-year term for this contract? It seems lengthy compared to what the board has done before in most cases.
Well, he had 2, and we added, we talked about adding 3, so that's a 5. And that would take him up to, what's the year, Jason?
2022.
2022. Are there any other questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clark?
Ms. Rokoff?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Tabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
I have no problem with the appointment, but as I said the last time that we had a 5-year contract before this, I feel that this sort of supersedes the ability of the board to adapt to changes that may occur in the future. So, no.
Mr. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
That item passes.
Thank you. I would like to add a resolution to the agenda. Mr. McCoy, can you put this up? So I would like a motion to add this resolution to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? So this is the resolution about, in support of public education and opposing United States Secretary of Education nominee Betsy DeVos. Yes, sir. This is just to add, and then, okay, and then we can, are there any questions about adding this resolution? Mr. Clark?
Mr. Strittmatter?
No.
Mr. Tabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
No.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
No.
Ms. Rokoff?
Yes.
That item failed.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on. We're going to move on to the superintendent's item. Dr. Padilla, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have several workshop topics for you, and we're going to start with Ms. Lazarski. Sorry, I was just looking to make sure she was here. Hi.
So today I'm here to talk about an idea and for increasing breakfast participation amongst our high school students. Next. So in 2015, we were awarded a little over $224,000 by the School Superintendents Association and the Walmart Foundation to increase breakfast participation in all of our schools. The goals of that grant were to provide universal breakfast to all of our students, to move breakfast out of the cafeteria and increase access to our breakfast programs. And our initial participation in breakfast in school year 2014-15 was only 34.1%, and our goal was to increase it to 75% of our students eating breakfast every day. As part of the goal, we were able to track and provide data on student attendance, tardiness, morning nurse visits, and academic performance, and also provide success stories and feedbacks to help other districts implement similar breakfast models to ours. So this is where we are right now. I grouped each one of these sections by grade level. So our pre-K through 5 buildings, we're doing excellent. We're feeding over 80% of our students every single day. In our K through 8 buildings, we're feeding 76.6%. In our traditional middle schools, we are feeding 48%. And in our high schools, we average about 44.6%. So as a district, our average is 65%. So we have gone up significantly since the implementation of these breakfast programs. So our focus now is on high school, where we have our biggest opportunity. In April of 2016, Mr. Rodriguez and I went to the community of practice for our grant recipients, and we discussed some ideas on how we were going to help increase breakfast participation in our high schools. And in addition, the superintendent had a Twitter conversation with the students, and one of the most retweeted questions was, why can't we bring coffee into school? Shortly thereafter, I attended a American Dairy Association and Dairy Council Big Ten event, so our district gets invited to a group of districts that have the best breakfast participation in the New York, New Jersey area. And they presented this idea for fresh milk latte machines and how that would help bring high school students to breakfast. So this NFA Cafe, and the name is still out there, but the menu options will include fresh milk lattes, freshly baked muffins and breads that are all whole grain, yogurt parfaits, smoothies, fresh fruit, 100% fruit juice, and hot apple cider seasonally. So really going for like a Starbucks look and feel. These are the latte machines themselves. They brew espresso and steam milk automatically, and they will meet the 8-ounce requirement for our breakfast program of milk. So it will be a part of the reimbursable breakfast program. When we went out to bid for these items, they are $12,436 a piece, and we're proposing to put 2 in main campus, 1 in North Campus, and 1 in West Campus. Yeah, that's not going to work. All right, so in addition to bringing our high school students to breakfast, some of the other things that this program will help to achieve for our students is better overall nutrition. So we know that the majority of high school students are not getting enough calcium. The 9 out of 10 teen girls and 7 out of 10 teen boys don't get the calcium they need. And if kids skip a serving of milk at school, they're not likely to pick it up at home either. So we have an opportunity to help our students to get the nutrition that they need and also participate in the breakfast program. So that 8 ounces of milk is a reimbursable component of our breakfast program. It will be non-fat, and many of our teenagers are already reporting consuming specialty espresso beverages. So we know that it's trendy. And the overall goal is to increase breakfast by 35 more high school students. So those are the overreaching goals in each building. And that will get us up to the 50% participation mark in our high schools. At NFA Maine, we have an opportunity to kind of reinvent a space that we have abandoned for a little while. The Eagle's Nest, we had an old snack area that we are looking to turn into a very realistic looking Starbucks barista type of cafe. And the main campus will have the 2 latte machines and have this reinvented space. North Campus will have 1 latte machine and West will have 1 as well. And we're also looking into trying to figure out a way to make kiosks at those locations so that they have an authentic look and feel, because they don't have an actual niche that we can carve out. And then just so you know, we have been starting to do some taste testing and product sampling with our students. They've been very well received, all of the recipes we've tried. And they rated them there. Not one of them mentioned that they tasted like whole grain or healthy, which was really great. But they did mention that they liked them. So overall, the objectives of this project would be to increase breakfast among all of our high school students, and the target being 50% for Main and North Campus and 80% in West Campus. To increase milk consumption at breakfast by our high school students, with a target of 50% of all students participating in breakfast taking a milk beverage, and an overall positive perception of the school breakfast program at the high school level. So that would be measured by student focus groups and student surveys.
Questions? Questions from the board?
Mr. Stiverne?
First, I want to thank you for all the work you and your team put forth to get our children as many meals as possible during the year. The milk with the espresso, I'm not in support of caffeinated drinks in the school. Definitely as much milk as possible, but possibly maybe a fruit smoothie type of machine. Caffeinated drinks for children, I think, are a bad idea. As much milk as possible is good, but at the college level, kids are going to drink coffee because it's on the campus probably 24 hours a day. But at the high school level, I don't know if it's a good idea.
The latte machines are customizable, so we could look into doing them all as decaf beans. So it gives the perception still of the taste of a latte, but it would be decaffeinated. Again, we were talking about putting in the smoothies as well as hot apple cider. So again, that look and feel of the Starbucks to make it more trendy to come to breakfast, but adjusting it to what we need in the school.
Did we used to have caffeinated drinks in the vending machines years ago?
Yes.
Yeah. So how long ago did we remove that?
Well, the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act took away some of the options that were available to students as far as what could be offered. Right now, we do sell diet iced tea in high schools. That is one of the approved items that's within our wellness policy and within the state's regulations, but there's no sodas in schools. And that's only offered at the high school level. Anything middle school and down is only 100% juice and water.
So if we offer caffeinated, espresso, not decaf, will that violate any of the regulations?
No, not currently, unless it was added to our wellness policy that we're not serving caffeinated beverages.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Yes, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, could you tell us a little bit more about the smoothies option? Does that, is fresh fruit used as an ingredient to that, and is special equipment required to make those? It just seems like a healthier option to me.
And smoothies, are very on trend with all students, not just high school students. So it would be it would be frozen fruit, and milk, yogurt. I mean, there's a variety of different recipes, and we have product tested some of those. The only special equipment is a blender, of which we already have one. We already have an ice machine, so we're just really looking at this point at a space and also trying to figure out a way to keep up with that, because they only will hold their consistency so long. So, you know, to blend smoothies for 500 kids is going to be a little difficult, but we're trying to figure out a way to pre-do it and keep it for the long term. But yes, we are looking into that.
Ms. Prakash?
Yes, I like the options here. Well, I drank coffee from the time I was in first grade, that's probably why I'm short. But I just want, one question. I like the fact that it's done for 3 campuses. Will the same food options also be at the NFA West campus besides just the main and north?
It wouldn't be every day because we do have a rotating breakfast option for them, but we would probably do it either 2 days a week or 3 days a week where those muffins would be offered, because we're trying to do them day of. So, you know, to maintain the freshness, to maintain the integrity of a fresh baked product. So we'd have to try to figure that out, and production-wise, and getting that out to them so that it's nice and fresh for them as well. So,
I would like that they get the same sort of option, you know, in the breakfast food.
Mr. Menuda?
Hi, thank you. Your presentation the other day was excellent on this, as it was tonight. We had a couple of questions that came from that committee, and I was wondering if you've gotten that information back yet.
about the kiosks,
The kiosks, liability, things of that nature.
we have not talked about liability yet.
I'm sorry?
No, we have not talked about liability yet. The kiosks, I am waiting for a call back from the designer who did that. We have a scheduled appointment next week to talk about our options for the kiosks.
And I just had a question with regard to, you know, the semantics are in there that 8 ounces be offered. Doesn't mean that the child has to take it. So my curiosity is, if we're supplying it, what happens to that milk if it's not being used? The requirement was 8 ounces per day to be offered.
To be offered.
Doesn't mean they have to take it.
Right.
So I was curious as to what happened to that milk if it's not being used. Is that given to a charity, or what happens?
No, it's just, they are only required to take, with lunch, they're required to take 3 of 5 components. With breakfast, they're required to take, it's odd, but it's 2 grains and a fruit, or a protein and a grain and a fruit, some combination of those, and then you can also add the milk. So a full breakfast is milk, fruit, and 2 grains, or milk, fruit, and a grain and a protein. USDA makes this stuff up, I don't.
And I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that you did.
Yeah.
I was just curious as to, obviously, we have to have it there, right?
Right, we have to have it,
It has
but they-
expiration, right?
Well, they don't take it, so even though we're serving, say, at lunch, we're serving 1,400 lunches at main campus a day, we know that we're not serving 1,400 milks at lunch, not even close. So we are only ordering for what we know we're gonna use, and then it comes in every day.
I understand. Thank you for answering my question. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Lisowski? Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'll definitely follow up with you on some next steps. Thank you. Okay, the next 2 workshop topics will be led by Mr. Kern, and so we'll start with the draft budget timeline. So we put this out to the Board of Education every year and to our community, so that way you have some insight into the budget planning process, as we are about to kick that off with you on February 14th.
The first date for the budget timeline here is going to be February 14th, where the superintendent will unveil his draft budget to the Board of Education. February 21st, with permission from the board, change date from the 28th. The regular Board of Education meeting will be budget discussion number 1, followed by a administrative task of the tax cap calculation due to the Office of State Comptroller. Whether all this is a calculation of what the tax cap is for the district, and we send it into the comptroller's office, and they have the ability to come back and audit us on that. The March 14th board meeting will be budget discussion number 2. The 21st, with a change from the date, with the 28th, be the superintendent's recommended budget being presented to the board. We have 2 meetings after that, the 4th and the 18th, with the board's consideration of the recommended budget, and on the 18th, we will be asking for the board vote for the budget. They have up until the 21st of April to adopt the budget. The property tax report card is due to the state on the 24th. We do need a couple of days to get that together. May 9th is the public hearing, where we'll discuss with the public the projected budget. May 16th is the budget vote, and May 17th is the canvass of votes, where the board accepts the results of the vote in the day prior, and the vote on the any resolutions we have and board members.
Board members, are there any questions on this schedule? Thank you, Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. All right, so just to, before we wrap this piece up, I do want you to just note the many opportunities we built into this timeline, where we'll have budget discussions and planning around ultimately what my final budget is that will be presented to the board. And then after that, how many opportunities the board has to ultimately approve the budget before it goes to the voters. All right, the next one kind of aligned to our budget process to begin with is a facilities steering committee. And so Mr. Kern will give the community and the board some insight into our planning.
One of the things that, working with the committee for a capital construction bond resolution, is to have a small core committee of people, about 13, that is a constant, and then we bring people in as we move through the different processes. If transportation's involved, we bring the transportation director in. We talk about the different things going on at the buildings with the principals and the board members. On the committee, we'd like to have 2 board members, a chair and a vice chair. The superintendent of the schools is a definite. Senior staff, myself and the director of facilities, the executive director of facilities. 3 community members, possibly 1 from each of the townships that make up the district. Our architect of records, Mr. Colby. A construction manager, once we have hired by the district. This person here is important because they do a lot of costing out of what's going on in the project. And then 3 union representatives that would be able to help us out from the 3 large district unions. Phase 1, from January to March, we're going to review the buildings condition survey, which is still in draft form. We'll identify and prioritize projects by buildings. Preliminary cost reports as to what's going out. We have to have a dollar amount in order to put the bond to the public. We're looking at a preliminary, looking to have set a preliminary project schedule, and is to be reporting out to the Board of Education at every meeting. Phase 2 is from February to May. We do review additions, alterations, and new construction, identify and prioritize. This will be a lot of input coming in from the different buildings, the superintendent, and the board members involved. Again, we'll be reporting out to the board at every meeting. July of 17, the final plan to be to the board for discussion. August, we're looking at the timeline here as the board to approve the bond referendum, because there is a 45-day period as we have to go out and advertise the bond by law. We're looking at October for a bond referendum vote. So it's a compressed, but we look to do a lot of work in the next 7 to 9 months.
Just a point of clarity, when thinking about the construction of this particular committee, the 2 board members that we felt would be pertinent to assist in this work was the chair and vice chair of buildings and grounds.
Board members, are there any questions about this? Okay, Mr. Johnson?
Is there kind of a good time frame that this whole project would cover as far as construction needs within the district?
What we're looking at is from the time we start the process till we finish up the final cost report, we're talking 7 years, because of the time period that needs to be into planning and getting items through state ed. By the time we're looking to control the 5-year plan, anything that's a priority one on the building condition survey will be addressed in the plan. Then everything else that follows after it. We do have an energy performance contract that's getting started in the district, so a lot of the things that are priority one will be addressed by that. So yeah, I'm talking probably 7 years from today, we'll be finishing up the project.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
One more. Could you say just a little bit about the process around the hiring of the construction manager?
Yeah, what we do is we request for a proposal. We send it out. We have there's 3 phases to construction management. One is free referendum, second is planning stage, and the third is the construction process itself. We'll be looking to put an RFP out for the proposal there for their fees as to what the size of the project would be. We have a under 50 to 100, and over $100 million project, so we kind of see what's going on. There's criteria in a RFP, and there'll be points awarded for the different things that are in the RFP process.
Any other questions?
That concludes the workshop topics, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Diaz, and thank you, Mr. Kern. We're going to go to the board committee reports. Policy committee, Mr. Stradire.
We met on January 11th. The first agenda item was the draft policy for equity. The Newburgh equity team will be meeting and gathering information to develop a draft equity policy for the board to consider. The second item was employee physical exams at the table, and we brought back to Human Resources for further clarification. And the third item was a non-discrimination and equal opportunity policy, which was on the first reading for tonight. Thank you.
I'm going to say that I made a boo-boo. We're going to go back to Dr. Padilla before you, Mr. Johnson. I apologize. And he's going to address us about Sacred Heart School.
Thank you. So I know many folks in our community have been made aware of some information regarding Sacred Heart and the status of that building. And so I'd like to just provide a very quick update to the board and the community. Since last week, we've been in communication with the State Education Department. We also have met with officials from the Archdiocese office. We had a meeting here the other day where we discussed necessary requirements in order to support the transition from Sacred Heart to St. Joe's. In this meeting, we learned that there's current work taking place in the St. Joe's school building. They're expecting to open on Monday, pending some certifications that need to be granted. And so they're going to work through the weekend. They shared that they did hit a snafu where the alarm system that's currently in the building has to, they need a whole new system. And so if all that passes and the alarm system is working by Sunday, they're expecting to open up for school operation on Monday. So we currently, our involvement in this process is that we have 38 pre-K students that we're accountable for. And so we're working with them on transportation. We're working to make sure that students with disabilities have services. So both executive directors, Chris Baer and Andy Velez, will be involved in the process. They'll be walking the buildings themselves to make sure that the space is adequate for our pre-K students. So that's a very quick update with what's taking place right now.
Any questions?
That concludes.
Thank you, Dr. Padilla. We're going to move to the library committee, Mr. Johnston.
Thank you. The library committee met Wednesday, January 4th. There was discussion about library events. A couple of very popular ones that were recent were a Pokemon and a Harry Potter event. The library was open 2 recent Mondays. There were school district holidays, and attendance was good on those days. The solar charging station has been set up in the library lobby, and installation outside will wait until the spring. There was discussion about open positions, which we're expecting to be posted soon. Thank you.
Would you like to move on to the curriculum committee?
Sure, thank you. The curriculum committee met on Wednesday, January 18th. Many items that are on this evening's agenda were presented, including conference requests, including a strategic and planning event in August, and book purchases to enhance classroom libraries. Several schools are planning after-school help in the coming months. There was a proposal to hire outside graders for some exams. An updated version of the charting year course booklet is being developed and should be available soon and will be printed and available online. There was an update regarding iReady assessments. They are being accomplished more efficiently the second time around. And we also learned that New York State has published updated science standards for which professional development will be developed in the district. And as always, there's much more detail about these meetings on the Board Docs website if people would like more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston. We're going to move on to Mr. Howard and the Exceptional Learners Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. At our last meeting, we met on January 12th, and we had the opportunity to be off-site over at the Independent Living Building up on Lake Street at the invitation from Diane Streller. We had an incredible presentation from Doug Hovey, who's the director over at the Independent Living. He talked about the role that Independent Living plays with children with disabilities and how they would love to continue to work strongly with the school district. He was also a proud graduate of Newburgh BOE Academy, class of 1980, classmate of mine. So it was good to hear Doug going so well over there and how he's running that program. We also had an update on the New York State education audit for areas of special education non-compliance. Some great news is coming from that in regards to those audits, so I'm going to let Chris do that in this opportunity, but they're doing a great job, exceptional learners. And then we also had a discussion on the role of related services personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. We're going to move on to Buildings and Grounds Committee. Ms. Prakash?
Thank you, regular meeting, and during that meeting on building grounds, we discussed the change orders at Foster Town School with the windows, facility use requests. We had an update on the lead and water testing and remediation. Also a report out on the work that was completed over winter break. And a discussion of what Mr. Kern talked about tonight, the Facility Steering Committee.
Thank you. Would you like to continue on with the personnel?
On the personnel side, a lot of them are resolutions tonight, such as we discussed leadership team appointments, and resolutions to approve after-school homework help at the Newburgh Free Library, the additional help for after-school and Saturday review appointments at NFA Maine, the approval of additional math and ELA help for Saturday Academy at Temple Hill and at GAMS. In addition, we had discussions on the after-school programs at Gardnertown, Bonneville, and Temple Hill. We preliminarily talked about the 2017-18 school calendar. Nothing in stone yet, but we are coming back next year. Resolution to approve this supervisor of special ed and also executive director of at-risk population. The need for an addition 0.5 art teacher at Heritage, and then tenure recommendations, and then we went to executive session.
Thank you, Ms. Prakash. Mr. Menuda, would you care to talk about the Audit and Finance Committee, please?
Sure, I'll talk about audit and finance. We met on January 17th, Tuesday at 4:01 p.m. We discussed tax certiorari with Mr. Mark Sharp, the Shaw Law Firm. Presented an option to have basically the legal representation for the district to have more influence in the input of regarding taxation in our communities that we serve. Currently, the board is somewhat disengaged in that as a district, and by enabling that, we may find ourselves in a better situation to be able to pull more money in rather than allowing these simple, Supreme Court decisions to go forward. They provided a fixed fee for the year, and the understanding is that the receipt of the funds that we would collect based on representation would far exceed that fee. So that would be a benefit to the district. We discussed speech and language. There's currently an RFP that's being placed for that. The district currently has a deficit in the quantity of instructors for this important educational component. The district has reached out to retirees, but has been unable to secure such retirees to help fill this need. And in satisfying the RFP, speech and language therapists will be solicited to benefit the children of the district that have this need. The breakfast grant was also discussed, and Ms. Lazarski just illustrated that to everyone, so I think we covered that subject. Quarterly report. The year-to-date, the district revenue of $1.8 million is over the budgeted amount. Year-to-date, the district has $7 million of the projected expenditures under budget, and the project fund balance for the 2016-2017 school year is approximately $8.8 million, so we're in very good shape. Bus purchases was the next item on the agenda. There was the idea to purchase 2 buses for the district for school use. Through the vetting of that process, it's been determined that it's not necessarily a benefit to the district. It's actually less expensive to contract these services. Items like maintenance can't be done in-house, insurances, additional staff to operate, training, maintaining the licensure, upkeep with DOT, no reserve if one of the buses was down, were some of the items that were not to our benefit. We had a transportation bid, which was for the spring sports and special needs transportation. 3 companies were awarded, George M. Carroll Inc. at $28,025, Visconti Bus Service LLC for $24,300, and West Point Tours Inc. for $4,266. Committee recommended sending the transportation bid to the full board for approval. Lastly, we just discussed the construction manager RFP for the capital improvements being proposed. Again, ranges in 0 to 50 million, 50 to 100 million, 100 to 150 plus ranges as far as fees are concerned. It was discussed that this should be a qualifications-based RFP, not necessarily price. That the RFP should not include the price on the first go-round, but the company shortlisted then have their services proposed to the district for negotiation. That actually complies with best practices in the industry. Executive session we went into that on 4:52, and back to public session at 5, and we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Can I make a suggestion that we bring up the purchase of the buses again in committee and then on the floor for a discussion with the entire board? Because I've heard from a few board members that this is a concern. Thank you. We're going to move on to the deputy superintendent section. Sitting in for Mr. Forget is Mr. Bear.
Thank you, Madam President. I have one proposal for tonight, and it is the recommendation for the CSE and CPSE committees.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Devano? Yes. Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw?
Yes.
Mr. Studo?
Yes.
That concludes my agenda items. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. We're going to move on to Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Mrs. Felice.
Thank you, Madam President. The first item this evening for CNI is the resolution to approve conference requests.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw?
Yes.
Mr. Studo?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Item 7.2 is the resolution to approve field trip requests.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Johnston? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw? Mr. Studo?
Actually, it came really quick. I just had a quick question. On all these trips, do any of the student activity funds pay for the transportation?
I would have to go back and check and present that information through the BOE weekly.
It's one of the reasons why we had wanted these 2 buses, was so that the students can take trips and not have to raise the funds themselves to pay for the busing, or to lower the cost. So even though it would cost the district some more money, the flexibility of the teachers knowing
that buses were available for trips. That was the purpose. So
Well,
hopefully we can revisit that.
let's go back to where we are. So what's your vote on that,
Yes.
please? Thank you.
Mr. Devano? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes.
Madam President, at this time, I'd like to request a table, item 7.3, please.
I'd like to entertain a motion to table, please. Roll call. Mr. Clerk?
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda? Yes. Ms. Bocock?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Devano? Yes. Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Item 7.4 is the resolution to authorize the superintendent to execute a contract with Ed Vistas to score the January English Regents exams.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Bocock?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Item 7.5 is the resolution to authorize the superintendent to execute a contract with Ed Vistas to score our ELA, math, science, and ISOSLAT exams.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bocock? Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our CNI items this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Felice. We're going to move on to the Assistant Superintendent for Finance, Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 8.1, resolution to approve bills and reports, November 2016.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Yes, Mr. Stannard?
Just on the budget status report, going down the list of items, is there anything that surprised you or is a concern as far as the amount of unencumbered balance? Anything specific that you'd say for next year's budget, we should add a little bit more or take some off? The whole object of budget is to take more than that, and then we will present that in the superintendent's budget. So is there anything specific that you not anything, not any one particular item that jumped out? Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Ms. Bocock?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Item 8.2, resolution to approve bills and reports December 2016.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Bocock?
Yes.
Item 8.3, resolution to authorize the refunding of bonds.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Bocock?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes. Item 8.4, resolution to authorize property tax refund proceed to court order.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
No.
Ms. Bocock?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Item 8.5, resolution to authorize property tax refund proceed to court order.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion?
No question.
Go ahead. Mr. Menuda?
I just don't understand how our children benefit from this.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
No.
Ms. Bocock?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes.
Item 8.6, resolution to authorize property tax refund proceed to court order.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
No.
Ms. Bocock?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnson?
Item 8.7, resolution to approve facility use request.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Streimeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston? Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Item 8.8, resolution to purchase laptops for Heritage.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Streimeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Item 8.9, resolution to renew agreement with Safari Montage.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Streimeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston? Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Item 8.10, resolution to purchase laptops for Vales Gate.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Yes, Mr. Streimeyer?
It says that the purpose is to use for students in grades 3 through 5 at Trails Gate in the SIP grant socioeconomic integration pilot program. So the laptops can only be used for that, or it's just, that's the money that's coming from?
This is a funding source.
Okay, so this is gonna be used for testing, this is gonna be used in the classroom for learning, what is it gonna be used for?
All of the above.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's for all the kids, yeah. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston? Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Streimeyer?
Yes.
Item 8.11, resolution to approve change orders for the security project.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Streimeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Item 8.12, resolution to approve change orders for the Fossil Town Windows project.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Johnston? Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
No.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Streimeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Item 8.13, resolution to approve transportation bid.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Streimeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Item 8.14, resolution to accept grant to NITI.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Mr. Streimeyer?
Could someone explain just exactly what this is?
This is money coming in from New York State as part of funding that they deem appropriate for the school district. It is for use in the school programs in the district. We're bringing the money in and putting it into an equipment code in case we need to use it in that. It has not been designated for any type of service yet. The money has been received by the district.
Does the money have to be used by end of June?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, this is grant aid for the current school year.
So if it does come up for any expenditures for this money, will we be notified in the funding source?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Menuda? Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Streimeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston? Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Item 8.15, resolution to accept internal audit report.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Yes, Mr. Scott?
There was two audits done, right?
No,
With that? You know, all those two different things?
Yeah, there's the internal risk audit, and then there's the There was the internal risk audit, and then there was the two areas that we look at, and this is the top vote.
So by accepting the audit, from that point on, that we have discussion on, we would have discussion in where on things that need to be.
This would be done in finance as to we setting up the draft report to answer the items that were listed in the audit.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other
90
questions?
days to respond.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Stradine?
So, in the report on the Title IX, were there any items that needed to be addressed there?
In the Title IX, one of the things that was, that they discovered is we don't keep type records on what's spent for both boys and girls sports, and we are in the process now of looking into that for the next school year.
Mr. Stradine?
I was under the assumption that that was discussed at least 8 months ago regarding the need to do that. So, what happened there?
What the auditors were looking at was the financial records at the business office as to being able to tell what was spent for which sport. We don't keep that type of record, and we are in the process of looking at that for next year.
Thank you.
Mr. Menuda?
Just to dovetail what he was talking about, yeah, there needs to be equity with all of our students in every sports program that we have. And to that, that's what part of this is intended to address, and we obviously need to get something done so that we can actually let the rubber hit the road instead of talking about it.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Ms. Rokosh?
Yes.
Mr. Strider? Yes. Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Item 8.16, resolution to approve final Smart Schools Investment Plan number 3.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So,
Questions or discussion? Mr. Stradine?
So this covers the full $12.9 million? Or there's going to be
No,
another?
we'll have more phases. This is just classroom technology.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Strider? Yes. Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Rokosh?
yes.
Madam President, that concludes the items from finance for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. We're going to move on to the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Mr. Macklin.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 9.1 on the HR agenda, items A through K. We have professional appointments, we have professional leave of absence, return from leave of absence, resignation, retirement. And on the civil service side, we have appointments, we have change of status, leave of absence, civil service resignation, retirement, termination, and former employees who have passed away.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or comments, Mr. Stradine?
On B3, should that say, the second date, should that say 2018? Or is it only for 2 weeks?
B3?
B3 is only for a 2-week period.
No, that's correct.
That's correct.
That's correct, that's listed.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Menuda?
Just a comment, I'd like to give thanks to those teachers that have both retired and passed on, as well as those who are currently still with us.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Rokosh?
Yes.
Mr. Strider?
Yes.
Item 9.2 is a resolution to approve the Executive Director of At-Risk Populations.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Item 9.3 is a resolution to approve school leadership team appointments.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Item 9.4 is a resolution to approve additional NFA after-school and Saturday tutorial review appointments.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Item 9.5 is a resolution to approve after-school homework help program at Newburgh Free Library.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Item 9.6 is a resolution to approve additional math and ELA at Temple Hill Academy, Saturday Academy appointments.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Item 9.7 is a resolution to approve additional ELL at Indiana Avenue, Saturday Academy appointments.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Item 9.8 is a resolution to approve Temple Hill After School Scholars Program.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Mr. Strittmatter?
What time of the day will that program end? Is it going to be around 6 o'clock? So earlier? I was just wondering if any of the grant money for the food program could be used to provide some kind of food for the kids, because they might be there from, 9 in the morning until, 5 o'clock. And some of them may eat lunch at 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock. Just a consideration. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Item 9.11 is a resolution to approve ELA and math after school at Longville appointments.
Point of order, we,
Did I skip
to
one?
9, right now we're at 9.9.
I was thinking about homes, I'm sorry. 9.10 is a resolution to I'm sorry.
It's complicated.
9.9 is a resolution to approve coordinator for Americans with Disabilities Act, Section 504 and Title II.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop? Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Item 9.10 is a resolution to approve ELA and math after school at Garden.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Yes, Ms. Prokop?
Yes, I mean, I like the idea of helping children after school. My only concern is that this is a late school, and The children are gonna be there until, I believe, 6-something. And by the time some of them get home, it's gonna be 7. And then they eat and have homework. So my concern is, we are trying to help them, the students after school, so I would like someone to take into consideration, if they're going to this after-school program, that they not be loaded down with additional homework besides this after-school help, because then that's defeating the purpose of getting children after-school help. And I do have a problem with late schools and children getting left off at bus stops, for instance, in the city of Newburgh, or even in the city of Newburgh, because they're not left off door to door. They're left off on corners to then have to go home in the dark. So I am concerned about the lateness of these. The schools that are late schools having after-school programs rather than a morning program before school. And as we know from research, elementary school children learn the best in the morning. High school children learn better later in the day. So I do have concern with that. And I don't want to not vote for the children, but I do want to people take this into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prokop. Thank you, we'll definitely take it into consideration.
Mr. Stradone?
No, I agree that the lateness of the day could affect them going to sleep. They might be able to go to sleep a little earlier if they get home earlier, but I forgot what I was going to ask. That's the first time I think it's like I'm thinking about home too now.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Mr. Menuda?
I'm not thinking about home just yet, but I will tell you, that was a very good point. I didn't even realize that. So are we voting on this as far as being a late school rather than talking about potentially being in an early school? Is that an option here?
That's something completely different.
Different topic, okay.
Yeah, that's.
All right, so I'm off topic.
I think that some research was done, because we discussed it in Personnel Committee, and I believe some research was done. Would you like to comment about that? Or Mrs. Felice, that what the
So we did.
came up with?
We did go back to several of our principals that are in these particular buildings and survey a group of parents who have children in the program who prefer the after school instead of before school. But I think Ms. Prokop's point is extremely valid, and it's something we should continue to take a look at.
Yes, Mr. Stradone?
I remember it. One of the members of the public asked about coordination between the teachers on the school day and the after-school teachers, whether they're going to collaborate and coordinate some of the efforts to help the children. Are they going to be doing that so that the teachers during the day can help the teachers on the after-school program to learn what the kids need help with?
So if I understand your question, it's the daytime teacher finding time to collaborate with the after-school teachers. That currently is not the model. Oftentimes, the daytime teacher is also the after-school teacher, so it's often the same people that work in that particular program. It doesn't mean they know all the kids they see, but they certainly have a grasp. That's something we can definitely talk with our administrators around. How are they supporting that kind of collaboration so that way, to the community members' point, we're getting a good return on investment during this particular time, which I agree with.
Do these teachers work in the same school? The Gardner Town teachers, are these 7 teachers Gardner Town staff?
Matt, I believe they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Prokop?
Yes.
Mr. Stradone?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Item 9.11 is a resolution to approve ELA and math after school at Bombay.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion?
The same things I have for them.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda? Ms. Wilcox? Mr. Stoudemire?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnston?
Item 9.12 is a resolution to approve stipend for the executive director of exceptional learning.
I'd like to obtain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Wilcox?
Yes.
Mr. Stoudemire?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Item 9.13 is a resolution to increase .5 art position to a 1.0 FTE art position.
I'd like to obtain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Wilcox?
Yes.
Mr. Stoudemire?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Madam President, at this time, I'd like to request permission to add 3 items to the agenda.
I think we have to do them one at a time. Yes? We have to do this. Do you want to do 9.14 first and the SMOA, and then go on and add those one at a time? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Item 9.14 is a resolution to approve the SMOA with the NTA.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Stoudemire?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Wilcox?
Yes.
So, Madam President, do I request to add one item at a time?
Yes,
Or-
please.
I'd like
Pick
to
one.
request to add an item to the agenda.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Questions or discussion? You don't know what the item is. Could you tell us what the resolution might be?
Yes. This item is regarding suspension.
Okay.
Point of order,
Yes.
the item should be read.
Okay.
Right. Because the audience will.
Can you read the
access
item?
to it.
Yes. Be it resolved that employee number 12617 shall be suspended with pay during the pendency of said educational law, section 3028 proceedings.
Thank you. So this is just to add this, we had a motion and a second. Now we're going to vote on to add this agenda item. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Wilcox?
Yes.
Mr. Stoudemire?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have a motion on the floor. I'd like to, and at first, I need another motion, right?
Correct.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion on this agenda, on this resolution? Sorry. Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Wilcox?
Yes.
Mr. Stoudemire?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Madam President, I'd like to add another item to the agenda, resolution 2.0.
Could you read it, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Newburgh Large City School District hereby accepts the resignation of Timothy Bulkey as K-5 principal of Giddy Avenue Memorial School effective February 6, 2017.
May I have a motion to add?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion on adding? Roll call to add, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Wilcox?
Yes.
Mr. Stoudemire?
Yes.
Mr. Devano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
May I have a motion on this resolution, please?
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Yes, sir?
Discussion, well, I don't know if it's discussion or comment. I'd like to, I think, someone has past history of doing a very good job. And I think that we need to pull together as a community and get the school back on track. And people need to start thinking about that first. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Madam President, at this time, I'd like to add another item to the agenda. Resolution 19, be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, that Board of Education, the Newburgh Large City School District hereby appoints Timothy Balke to the position of Acting Assistant Principal on Special Assignment, effective February 6, 2017, for an indeterminate amount of time at the pleasure of the Board of Education.
May I have a motion to add this resolution?
Second.
Questions or discussion on adding? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes. There's a motion on, may I have a motion on the resolution?
So,
Questions or discussion? Mr. Strittmatter?
What's the exact title of the position?
Acting Assistant Principal.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Ms. Brokaw?
yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
No.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Item 9.15 is a resolution to approve the acting principal appointment at Gans.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Strittmatter?
This is, we're on this motion to approve the acting principal.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw?
Yes.
Item 9.16 is a resolution to approve the supervisor of special education.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Item 9.17 is a resolution to approve 10 recommendations.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw? Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Item 9.18 is for your information only. Those are 10 recommendations that will be coming before you next month. Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. We're going to move on to the clerk of the board, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Madam President. I have one agenda item, that's the approval of minutes from December 13, 2015.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Menuda?
Yes.
Ms. Brokaw?
Yes.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Mr. Sabano?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? That concludes my items, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. We are now at the public discussion and comment section on non-agenda items. Please refer to the public comment procedures posted by the sign-in sheet. Again, I'm going to read this. Issues concerning specific employees, either by name or by identifying reference, will not be tolerated. Any violation will result in the speaker being asked to sit down. First speaker, Mr. Matthew Lawrence.
How are you? First, I would like to, we get complained about a lot, but you don't get thanked. So I would like to thank you for all for your time. I know a lot of you have children, a lot of you have family. So thank you for tonight, doing the job that you do, not only here tonight, but on many of your many of your committees and reports. If the public came out a little bit more, I think they'd be more well-informed of the job that you do. If I'm to understand this, I cannot name anyone specifically while I give my general comments.
And you can't identify anybody by using a title?
By using a title.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I will try to be as general as possible and not be as specific. I have lived in the Newburgh district for 45 years, and I'm 45 years old. I have either gone to school with, been taught by, or have seen people come through the school district, have been acquaintances and friends with most of you here. I hear the same questions all the time. When I tell people where I live, they say, why do you still live in Newburgh? And what is wrong with that place? Any major problems in the district or anywhere, workforce, my job, anywhere, they usually start from the top down. In Newburgh, City Council argues with the mayor, the city manager, the employees, is dysfunctional. The police department appoints a police chief, and then a few years later looks to go outside to get a new police chief. There is a employee that will be coming up, that I'm sure we will all be speaking about, that will be coming up for tenure very shortly. As you all know, that I have been not only the announcer for sports, but I'm also the public address announcer for graduation and anything else that the district asks me to do. I have seen employees come and go. I have seen 5 principals, 5 athletic directors, and there's tenure coming up, as we see on the list, the agenda that we got in front of us, and we also have tenure coming up in the next few months. I ask you to please consider not only someone and their job and their family and all that they've done, but also consider all of you tonight. I saw some of you struggle to make a decision tonight. You couldn't say yes, you couldn't say no, you had to ask a question and think. And then you formed an opinion and you made that decision. Some of you have put a comment up there before you made that decision, because tough decisions are part of the job. That's what you're elected to do. That's what people in the school district are hired to do. They are here to make tough decisions. Now, all of you, or most of you, have a full-time job other than what you do here. So you consider this a part-time job. Some of you are retired, and good for you. You put in your years. There are people in this district that work full-time, and full-time doing their job. And when we are a Monday morning quarterback, or when an athlete is taken out of the game because they make a mistake by a coach, they can't do their job. You're always looking over your shoulder, being second-guessed, because a decision that you're supposed to make, a decision that you were hired to make, and a decision that you should make, and you're well informed because you're in that, not 40 hours, not 50 hours, sometimes 70, 80 hours. You're trying to make that decision based on everything that you know, and you're being second-guessed by everyone else. The reason why we hire people in this district, and the reason why you select people in this district, is that person stood out from every other employee. They stood out. Their skill set was good, their resume was good, and obviously their interview was good. We're putting people in positions, and I'm telling you, it happens all the time in the city of Newburgh. I've been here a lot. We get people that come in, we don't see their full capacity. They get a 1 or 2 year, 3 year, and then they're gone. Because we don't hold on, because those people are trying to take a job and reverse some things that have been done over the course of years. We're all afraid of change. All of us, okay? I'm afraid to get old, I'm changing, okay? My kids, I see them. I'm now a grandparent, so I see that. We're all afraid of change. All I'm asking you to do is look at the change in front of you. When I look at employees that I work with, I either give them a thumbs up, down, or a thumbs up. If you're a thumbs up or a partial thumbs up, you're what I want, because you are the majority good for us. I haven't seen people with a thumbs down, and I work with a lot of them in the school district. I volunteer my time, they're here a lot. I'm asking you in the next couple weeks, in the next couple months, when that tenure comes across your desk, or comes across your spot, please, look hard. Once, twice, even 3 times. Because a few of those tenures are high thumbs up. Thank you.
Santiago, please.
Good evening, my name is Lily Santiago. I'm a parent in the district, and President Dr. Padilla, board members, staff. I echo what Mr. Lawrence just said. Thank you for your time. It is a long day, I'm sure, and for all your work. I just wanted to give a couple of comments on our athletic program. I just wanted to say what a phenomenal job I think the department is doing. What many people have observed, in addition to the teams recognizing educators, the community efforts, at the armory, recognizing an athlete's character and so forth, is, I think, a great to do. I wanted to share some of my personal experiences with the department. As some of you may know, I'm a board member with the Friends of Newburgh Crew, the organization that supports the NFA crew team. The department has been very supportive in our efforts. We've worked to make budgets for every year. They've given us suggestions on how to help the athletes raise additional money because they understand how difficult it is to be doing it for the past 4 years. So I think they've been very fair. I want to share that. On a personal note, my daughter is looking to hopefully be recruited for college, and we contacted the department head and asked for some guidance, just some questions. The department head invited us in and told my daughter straight out that this is his favorite part of the job, and that for her to go and tell her friends, not just sports, not just athletes, any student, that he's there for them and that he enjoys the opportunity to guide them and help them in their future endeavors. So I just wanted to share my personal experiences and what a great job I think they're doing. Thank you.
Mr. Bob Villada.
Good evening again. What I have to say comes both from a professional and a personal emotion about how we work with our children. This district is embarking on the goal of providing more students with programs and instruction that meets the needs of their talents, sometimes known as talent development. Some schools have included such a program in their building curriculum. One such program in one school spans grades 3 through 5. Each of these titled unlimited classes is limited to those students who apply and pass a qualifying exam. This year I learned that 4 qualifying students were put on a waiting list for one of these classes. I then learned that this class was limited to only 20 students. After a few more questions, I learned that a limit of 20 students was demanded by the parents and subsequently agreed to by the school's administrator. Overall, the average class size for regular classes in this school is reported to be 23 or more. If all that I was told is true, 4 qualifying students have been locked out of a class because of someone else's arbitrary decision. Qualified, motivated students are being locked out because 20 is considered a limit. I also understand that each of these classes from grades 3 through 5, the limit is set at 20. Is this in compliance with board policy and practices? This district is also embarking on a critical matter of equity and removing barriers to all students. My information is correct. Limiting qualifying students is a barrier. I was also informed that such classes that have these enrollments are less than 20. This presents a problem. How does this merit using resources for these students, while those not qualifying sit in classrooms averaging 25, 23 or more? Shouldn't the practice be reversed? The less capable, the more needy, the less talented students are placed in smaller classrooms with lower class size to better overcome their particular barriers. I approve of the talent development program. I sit on the committee to promote it. But it's difficult for me to hear that we are practicing what I consider to be unprofessional and maybe even immoral behavior when such a practice is limiting even qualifying students and possibly at the expense of students with more needs. I hope you take this seriously. I'm not looking to abandon the programs. I'm looking to make sure that while we endeavor to be more equitable, we not sit around and wait for such a policy to be written, but we start putting it into practice as much as we can now. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board on non-agenda items? Please come up and state your name and where you live.
My name is Abigail Solcado. My name is Destiny Arazo, and we're from Temple Hill Academy. There's a concern we'd like to address. Our home and career teachers is being moved to another school, and this teacher means a lot to us, and we have signed a petition from all the kids in our school, and this is not even all of the kids. And we would just like to say that this teacher has meant a lot to us. She had not just helped us with our schoolwork, but she helped students behave better. The kids who weren't behaving as well, she would make them feel special and loved, and she would help us with our problems. And not only was she a teacher to us, but she was like a mother. And she moved last year too, and we don't want it to happen again because we love her a lot. And she also has taught in us educationally how to cook. She tells us everything we need to know, and it's just hard for us to see her move again. We would like her to stay, and we really don't want her to leave. She has taught us how to cook and how to bake cookies and brownies, and it's just hard to see her leave again, and we just don't want her to go. And we're asking you guys to help us keep her at our school, Temple Hill. Thank you.
I'll take that from you, okay? And thank you for having the courage to come back.
Would anybody else like to address the board on non-agenda items? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nail? Mr. Judah? Mr. Wilcox? Yes. Mr. Kudier? Yes. Mr. Bono? Yes. Mr. Howard? Mr. Johnston?
Good job, girl. Good job. Everybody, good job.